What is up, my friends? Welcome to Flippin Bats, where we got a show for you today. The New York Yankees are in absolute free fall. Forget, are the Yankees a World Series team? Now the question is, are the New York Yankees even a 2025 playoff team? Over the weekend, we saw Josh Hamilton become inducted into the Texas Rangers Hall of Fame, which to me leads to a fun conversation of who are the biggest what-ifs in MLB history, whether it be from off the field issues or injuries or whatever it may be. Top 5 biggest what ifs in MLB history. It's Monday, so we'll have a new and improved top 10 MLB Power Rankings. Jen Powell over the weekend, the first female umpire in MLB history. Going to talk about that situation and everything that went down. And a Shohei Ohtani MVP conversation. I've seen a lot out there. Is Shohei this year's MVP? We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show as well. A lot of fun stuff to talk about today. But let's talk about the New York Yankees. Are the 2025 New York Yankees even a playoff team? Forget the World Series. Forget the odds that say the Yankees should be a World Series favorite. My question at this point is, are the New York Yankees even a playoff team? We are seeing an epic free fall from the New York Yankees right now. And we can talk about the reasons. There's a bunch of reasons. The bullpen is atrocious. Even this new acquired bullpen from the trade deadline has been atrocious. Devin Williams allowed 24 earned runs in his last 145 games with the Milwaukee Brewers. He's allowed 24 earned runs in his first 46 games as a New York Yankee. The back end of the bullpen is a nightmare. The timely hitting has been atrocious. The defensive blunders, the base running blunders have been atrocious. So to me, somebody has to step up and call things what they are. I am tired of seeing players on the New York Yankees and the manager say the same thing for years. I am tired of it. They say the same things every single time. Everything's fine. We're fine. Everything's fine. We're just going through it right now. We're just going through it. I know you've been going through it for months. You've been one of the worst teams in baseball for months. It's since August, since the beginning of April. You're a 45-45 ball club. Since April 28th, you're a 45-45 ball club. Everything is not fine. So I get tired with this team and this front office and this manager of just regurgitating the same things every time, every day. Aaron Judge needs to step up and be the captain of this team. Aaron Judge needs to stop regurgitating the same answers with a wry little smile on his face saying, yeah, we're just going through it right now. Everything's going to be fine. No, it's not. This isn't a World Series team. This isn't even close to a World Series team. This is hardly a playoff team right now. They have the talent to obviously be a playoff team and to be a World Series caliber team. This team was in the World Series last year. But what they don't seemingly have is a backbone for somebody to step up and say, you know what, we've been awful. And to bench players if you need to for boneheaded base running mistakes and to call out players when you need to in the media. The New York Yankees have a massive bullpen issue. The New York Yankees have a massive issue with timely hitting. And the New York Yankees have a massive issue when it comes to having a backbone and handling situations like they should. Sure, you might believe in the locker room that everything is okay. You might believe that everything will be okay. But it's not. It's not okay. And nobody wants to continue to hear that everything's okay and everything's going to be fine. Because we've watched you go from a clear-cut American League East frontrunner and favorite and a favorite to come out of the American League and represent the American League in the World Series to a team that's in third place in the American League East and hardly grasping onto a wild card spot at this point. And I can't look at them right now and say this is absolutely a playoff team. Everything is not okay. Maybe everything will be fine. But I promise you, the fans and the fan base are tired of hearing the same things every single day and nobody taking accountability. It's just, I believe this team is a playoff team. I do ultimately believe the 2025 Yankees will end up in the playoffs, but I don't think they will go far, and I think they have a lot of issues as we currently speak. The Yankees are lucky the American League is a weaker league than the National League, because if there's not a ton of great teams in the American League. There are plenty of teams playing great, and we're going to talk about those throughout. There are plenty of teams playing great in the American League, but it's not a super deep league, and the Yankees are lucky. I do ultimately think they get into the playoffs because it's a less deep league, but I don't think they do much damage. This team has a lot of issues. To me, it's not a talent issue. It's just there's so many issues, and it's tough to watch. So, yes, the 2025 Yankees are a playoff team, but no, the 2025 Yankees will not go far in the playoffs. That's my thoughts. If you didn't see it over the weekend, Josh Hamilton, absolute stud of a ball player, was inducted into the Texas Rangers Hall of Fame. And my first thought that came to my mind was, man, we got to put together a list of the biggest what ifs in MLB history. And I have 5, my top 5. But what I want is for everybody watching, if you're watching on YouTube, leave me a comment with your top 5, because there's not a million, but there's 10 to 15 legitimate names that you could put on this list. And I narrowed mine down to top 5. Here it is. Biggest what ifs in MLB history. Starting at number 5, I'm going with Steven Strasburg. As talented as anyone we've ever seen in the game. Perhaps the most hyped prospect ever. Perhaps the most hyped debut that we've ever had in baseball history. Everyone kind of remembers where you were when Steven Strasburg made his debut against the Pittsburgh Pirates. And then, over the course of his career, just riddled by injuries, unfortunately, 247 starts in his career. He went 113-62, punched out 1,723 guys and 1,470 innings. He's a 3-time All-Star, World Series title, World Series MVP, and unfortunately, from that moment on, he got that big contract and just injuries and just couldn't figure out how to come back and be the pitcher and the pitcher that we all believe Steven Strasburg was. So unfortunately, injuries derailed what was maybe at the time the most hyped prospect ever, most hyped debut ever, and we saw it. We saw the potential. We saw how good he is and how good he was. It's just unfortunate that we didn't get to see the rest of the career play out as I think it could have. So Steven Strasburg's on my list at number 5. Number 4, Bo Jackson, the greatest athlete of all time. Bo Jackson was one hell of a baseball player. Obviously, he was a football player as well, an NFL star, but Bo Jackson was an incredible baseball player. We've seen so many highlights come from Bo Jackson in his baseball career. I guess it's maybe not a highlight, but the raw power of him breaking the bat over his head, the throw he made from left field that looks like it was 150 miles an hour, the raw power that he had hitting balls way out of the ballpark. Bo Jackson, in my opinion, is the greatest athlete of all time. He was already an MLB All-Star. He had it all. He had the power. He had the speed. He was a freak athlete. He was becoming a legitimate star in Major League Baseball. He was already a star. He was becoming like a legitimate perennial All-Star. Then the hip injury took away the greatest athlete that we've ever seen. Bo Jackson's on my list at number 4. At number 3, Mark Prior. Mark Prior was a can't-miss ace, stud, phenom. He had it all. Mark Prior was going to be, in my opinion, a perennial Cy Young candidate in 2003. He had a 2.43 ERA with 245 strikeouts and 211 innings. At just 22 years old, that's the pitcher that Mark Prior was. Unfortunately, injuries took it all away from us. Mark Prior, but before there was the hype machine of social media, Mark Pryor still had a ton of hype. That's how good he was. Everyone knew the name Mark Pryor as he was coming up. And then his debut, and then his 22-year-old season where he was one of the best young pitchers that we have ever seen. And unfortunately, we had his career taken from injuries. And I think you can't have a top 5 list without having Mark Pryor on that list. At number 2 for me, Jacob deGrom. The number 2 biggest what if in MLB history is Jacob deGrom. Now, we all know Jacob deGrom. In fact, Jacob deGrom has had a good baseball career, a historical baseball career. But in my opinion, Jacob deGrom could have been the greatest pitcher of all time had he just stayed healthy and continued to do what he was doing. Now, that may sound like a crazy statement, but we absolutely got the greatest peak for a pitcher that we have ever seen from Jacob deGrom. From 2018 to 2021, he had a 1.94 ERA over 91 starts, 774 strikeouts, and 581 innings. Back-to-back Cy Young Awards. And then in 2021, he was on pace to have the greatest season for a pitcher ever. And that's when the injuries began. We got the greatest pitching peak ever from Jacob deGrom. But then the injuries. 2021, the forearm elbow injury. 2022, the shoulder stress reaction. 2023, Tommy John. 2024, rehabbing from Tommy John. Guess what? He's back in 2025, older and still an all-star, still dominating out on the mound. Jacob deGrom just became the fastest pitcher in MLB history to reach 1,800 strikeouts, both in terms of games pitched and innings pitched, passing Randy Johnson in games. 243 was Randy Johnson. Jacob deGrom did it in 240. And passing Chris Sale in terms of innings. Chris Sale did it in 1,498 innings. Jacob deGrom did it in 1,493. Fastest pitcher in history to reach 1,800 strikeouts in terms of games pitched and innings pitched. I mean, the stuff, the poise on the mound, I think we can all agree that Jacob deGrom was absolutely going to be in the conversation of all-time great. But I think there's an argument that Jacob deGrom could have been the greatest pitcher of all time had injuries not derailed his career and that stretch that he was on, the peak he was on. We saw the most insane peak. I think the most insane pitching peak we've ever seen from 2018 to 2021. 2021 was on pace to be the greatest season that we have ever seen. And then injuries, unfortunately. Can't have this list without having Jacob deGrom on it. Number 1, the biggest what if in Major League Baseball history is Josh Hamilton. The number 1 overall pick in the draft, maybe the most potential of all time, even coming out of the draft. And I still sit here today and say that, obviously. But maybe the most potential of all time coming out of the draft. And then we saw that potential in so many different ways. 2010, he was the MVP of the American League. He hit .359 that year with a bunch of power. 5-time All-Star, 3-time Silver Slugger. Literally the epitome of a 5-tool player. Elite power. High average, really good speed, Gold Glove caliber defense, a rocket for an arm. In 2008, maybe the greatest home run derby performance that we've ever seen. He hit those 28 home runs in the first round at Yankee Stadium. I was there, I saw it. And then I was at the All-Star game this year and asked almost every player what their greatest All-Star game memory is, growing up, watching, or just at any point. And I'd say half of the players said Josh Hamilton's 28 home run first round performance in the home run derby at Yankee Stadium. The greatest home run derby performance we've ever seen. It was mesmerizing to watch. It was otherworldly. We've never seen anything like that. We've never seen anything like the player that Josh Hamilton was. Literally the epitome of a 5-tool player. And then he missed almost 4 full seasons in his prime And it's one of the most unfortunate situations that for a player with his caliber of talent in MLB history. So unfortunately, injuries, drug addiction, other off-the-field issues make Josh Hamilton the biggest what-if in Major League Baseball history. So my top 5 list, biggest what-ifs in MLB history. We're going Steven Strasburg at 5, Bo Jackson at 4, Mark Pryor at 3, Jacob deGrom at 2, and Josh Hamilton at number 1. And I think that's an absolute knockout of a list. But let me hear, there are plenty of other names that you can mention. And my honorable mention, if I were to have one, J.R. Richard is in there, David Wright is in there. I mean, look, I could go on for a long time here. So if you're watching on YouTube or if you're just listening, go to the YouTube, leave a comment. I want to see all of these answers. I want to see all the what if answers because it's a fun conversation to have. Maybe not a fun conversation is the way to say it, but I do think it's important to talk about. And I think my list is great. So that's my top 5 biggest what ifs in baseball. Let's talk power rankings. It is Monday. Every Monday, my power rankings come out on social media. They get ripped apart by people. But it's a fun back and forth at times. Let's talk my power rankings. At number 10 this week, I went the Boston Red Sox down 1 spot this week. They're 65 and 54. They lost a weekend series to the San Diego Padres. Obviously, still a very good baseball team. They were one of the hotter teams in baseball, but I just slid them down 1 because I believe there's a hotter team in baseball right now, and I have them at number 9 and new to the power rankings, and that's the Seattle Mariners, 66 and 53, winners of 7 in a row since the trade deadline when they did what they needed to do. They have been rolling. It's almost shocking that for years everyone has been saying, Mariners, just add offense. Please, what are you doing? You just need to add offense and the team can be good and be where they need to. Shockingly, they added offense at the trade deadline. And shockingly, since the trade deadline, they've been one of the best teams in baseball. Now they're right there on the Astros' heels in the American League West. Winners of 7 in a row, 66 and 53. Mariners new to the power rankings at number 9. At number 8, the team they are just behind the Houston Astros, up 2 spots. Huge weekend series win at the New York Yankees. I know the Yankees aren't playing great, but it just felt like that team started to come together. It felt like, okay, we got past the hump of Correa being back and then like integrating with him being back on the team. And now it felt like the Carlos Correa of old was back on the team. And him and Altuve just carrying the Houston Astros over the weekend in New York. And Altuve just hitting homers, Correa hitting homers, and the swag is back. And the Astros it feels like they're starting to get a little healthier. Correa's been one of the best players in baseball since the trade back to Houston. They're going to start to get a little healthier. They did go on a bit of a slide just because they were really going through it. They're holding on tight in the AL West. The AL West race is going to be intense from here on out through the rest of the year with them, the Mariners, and I'll throw the Rangers in there even though they're a bit behind. But I have the Astros at number 8. At number 7, staying the same, the Los Angeles Dodgers, 68 and 50. They beat the Blue Jays over the weekend. The Blue Jays have been one of the best teams in baseball this year. They did beat the Blue Jays in that series, but they have been one of the worst teams in baseball since the beginning of July. So, this week, maybe they rode the ship. Maybe they righted the ship a little bit with a big weekend series. So I kept them the same here this week. At number 6, also staying the same, 68 and 51, the Detroit Tigers. Guards are catching them. Cleveland Guardians are catching the Detroit Tigers. And what was once like an obvious Detroit Tigers have the biggest lead in the division in all of baseball. They are running away with this. They might win this division by 15-plus games. Is no longer that. Guardians are playing really good baseball since they sold at the trade deadline, and the Tigers aren't. And now that division lead is getting down to like 6 games and dwindling fast. So the Tigers need to figure it out. At number 5, the Chicago Cubs, down 3 spots, 67 and 50. They lost this week, lost the series to the Cincinnati Reds, then lost the weekend series to the St. Louis Cardinals. Bad stretch right now for the Cardinals. They were number 1 in my power rankings a few weeks ago, and keep falling. They're down to number 5. At number 4, the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm keeping them the same. They're 69-50. They lead the American League East. They lost the weekend series to the Dodgers, but historically good series against the Rockies before that. I'm not saying the Rockies are the best team in the world and that's a huge, like a big series win for them, but it was historically good. They put up 45 runs in 3 games. 20 runs one game, 10 runs another game, 15 runs in another game. 45 runs in 3 games. And then a tough series on the road at the Dodgers, salvaged the series on Sunday. So I kept the Blue Jays the same. At number 3, the San Diego Padres, up 2 spots. They're 66-50, 2 series wins on the week against the Arizona Diamondbacks and then a hot Boston Red Sox team. They have narrowed that lead in the NL West over the last month or so, even more and more and more. It is now a 2-game lead for the Los Angeles Dodgers, and they both play each other. They play each other this weekend in Los Angeles and then the following weekend in San Diego. So a lot of good action coming up right now between the Padres and the Dodgers. At number 2, I have the Phillies, up 1 spot. They're 68-49, winners of 3 in a row. The Phillies are the complete package. They really are. Their rotation is very good. The back end of the bullpen now with Yohan Duran is elite. I mean, they went out and added exactly what they needed to. The offense, top to bottom, is extremely deep. I really like the Phillies. I really like this team. I do think they're the complete package. They're going to be a force for the rest of the year. Phillies at number 2 for me. And at number 1, staying the same. Clearly the best team in Major League Baseball right now. Winners of 9 in a row. They are 73-44. The only team that's even at 70 right now entering this new week. They're the best team in baseball by a long shot right now. The Milwaukee Brewers cannot lose, and they are staying at the top of my power rankings this week. So number 10, Boston Red Sox. 9, Mariners. Then the Astros, Dodgers, Tigers. Then the top 5, I'm going at number 5, the Chicago Cubs, Blue Jays, Padres, Phillies, and at number 1, the Milwaukee Brewers. Let's talk about the NL MVP real quick. I'm starting to see some conversations out there of who's the NL MVP. Let me set the record straight real quick. Shohei Ohtani is the clear-cut NL MVP. What we're seeing right now, and I know I'm going to have this conversation, and there might be some people listening or watching out there that says, here we go, another Shohei conversation. I haven't had a real Shohei conversation in a little while, and this one's going to be quick, but listen up. There's not an NL MVP conversation. There's not a conversation for who's the best player in Major League Baseball. There's been 12 players in MLB history that have won 3 MVP awards. Shohei is one of those. There's been only one player to ever win 4 or more, and that's Barry Bonds. He actually won 4 in a row at one point. I think he's at 7. That player's Barry Bonds. Shohei Ohtani is about to get to 4 this year. He's going to be the second player ever to have 4 MVP awards. And he'll have done it in a 5-year span. This will be 3 in a row this year, and it'll be 4 overall in a span of 5 years. His numbers this year, over 40 homers, an OPS over 1,000. Now he's back on the mound. And what we saw the other day was the epitome of what Shohei Ohtani is. He started on the mound. By the way, he's rehabbing. I don't think people are properly getting that through their head. We are seeing Shohei Ohtani rehab on a big league mound starting baseball games because you can't rehab him properly with live sim games off to the side. He's too good for that. You can't send him down to the minor leagues because you need his bat in the lineup. We are seeing him rehab and figure things out and build up his stamina on a big league mound in big league games. And what he did the other day, striking out 8 guys, 8 batters in 4 innings, throwing 100 miles an hour, walking off the mound, putting on his helmet, and hitting absolute moonshot homers to the opposite field, deep left center. Homer number 40 on the year. Now he's up over that. Now the push for 50 is in tow. It's what makes Shohei Ohtani the greatest player of all time. The other day, his last outing on the mound, hitting a homer. That is the epitome of what makes Shohei Ohtani the greatest player of all time. So I've seen NL MVP conversations out there, and people just want to have a conversation, and I get it. I really do. It's fun to have a conversation. It's fun to talk about how good PCA is and how good this year has been. It's fun to talk about Kyle Schwarber and the tear that he has been on. But stop it. There is no NL MVP conversation this year. Stop it. This man is the greatest player of all time. Appreciate it while we can. You are going to one day tell your grandkids that you got to watch Shohei Ohtani play baseball in his prime, and they are going to say, tell me about it. That's incredible. It's like getting to see Babe Ruth play 100 years ago. We're getting to see Shohei Ohtani play, and it's historical. It's the greatest player we've ever seen, and what he's doing right now is unprecedented. So I'm once again here to say, Shohei Ohtani is going to win the NL MVP. It's going to be his third in a row. It's going to be his fourth. He's going to be the second player to ever win 4 or more MVPs, the first to do it without taking performance-enhancing drugs. And we just need to appreciate it while it is happening. I do get tired of people like, look, I talk about him a lot. I think rightfully so. And I think it's easy in sports to get bored of a conversation or tired of what's happening, or at least used to what's happening. Like, that's my only point, is don't get used to this. It is so cool to watch. If you don't watch games where he's pitching as a baseball fan, you should. It's so cool to watch him pitch on the mound and then walk off. And if he's leading off an inning, not even go into the dugout. Literally will punch out 8 guys, throw in 100 miles an hour, walk off the mound, get his hand and glove checked by the umpire, set it down on the dugout railing. Somebody's already put his gear up on the side for him to put on his helmet, grab his bat and his batting gloves, and then go up and hit homers. It is unbelievable to watch. There is no NL MVP conversation. Stop it. The answer is Shohei Ohtani. He's the clear-cut MVP. Before I finish up, I do want to talk about Jen Powell, the first female umpire in MLB history. That happened over the weekend. She had the series between the Marlins and the Braves, started on the base paths, so became officially the first female umpire in Major League Baseball history before her game behind the plate. But then she did have a game behind the plate, and that specifically is what I want to talk about, because obviously, it got a lot of traction, and then first pitch behind the plate, first strike call was in off the plate, and she called it a strike. And now everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people out there are pointing and laughing at that first pitch and making fun of a situation that I think is incredible and important in the game of baseball, and important for little girls growing up watching the game of baseball, or girls that want to grow up and play the game of baseball or umpire in the game of baseball. It was a really important moment over the weekend. And for the main story to be about the first pitch that she called in off the plate, a strike, I think is disvaluing the levity of the situation and the moment. How many umpires do you know that come up and make their debut and critique their first pitch? How many? No, it's because she's a female. It got a lot of traction. Everyone was watching, and then they think it's funny that she missed the first pitch. Do you know how she did the rest of the game? Do you know anything about her career coming up? She's earned every bit of the right to be here. She's been an umpire in minor league baseball since 2016. She's umpired over 1,200 games in the minor leagues, worked her way up to AAA, was a crew chief in AAA last year, and earned her right to make her debut in the big leagues. And then she did. And yeah, she missed the first call. And then her first punch out, her first called strike punch out, was a ball as well. And those are the two that I've seen out there a lot. Do you know how she did the rest of the game? She actually did really well. And when it comes to an umpire making their MLB debut, very much so on par with how it's gone historically. Do you know how nervous she probably was? Of course, that first called strike. And then you get a borderline one that's a little bit off the plate and it's called a strike. The rest of the game, I thought she did a very good job. And I just think it was a historical game, a historical moment. And we should all give it up for Jen Powell for for an incredible accomplishment and a well-deserved accomplishment. And I'm excited to watch her, some of her other games and see how she does. But, I think after she settled in, look, it's not just an MLB debut for players when they come up and they're expected to be nervous. Of course, Jim Powell was nervous, especially when she was behind the plate. MLB debut, behind the plate, nervous, ended up settling in and doing a really good job behind the plate. So congratulations to Jim Powell. And I wanted to take a moment to congratulate her for what the moment actually calls for and not call out and say, Jim Powell, you hear Jim Powell made her debut, missed the first call. Come on. Can't imagine. I got nervous for every game I played in professional baseball. I would have been so nervous if I made my MLB debut. I can't imagine how nervous she was. Even on the base pass, her first actual game, I saw her taking deep breaths and taking in the moment. Of course, she was nervous behind the plate. Let's not talk about that one call or the couple calls that you can talk about. Talk about the rest of the game, how she settled in and did something historic in the game of baseball. So good for Jen Powell. Fun show today. Remember, everyone, Tuesday is Dinger Tuesday on FanDuel Sportsbook, where you can get a 50% profit boost on any player to hit a home run. And I'm going to give you those picks, my pick for Dinger Tuesday right now, because Flippin Bats is presented by FanDuel. Bet baseball with us all season long on America's #1 sportsbook. And we are going to go with a guy that hasn't had the best year. I got two picks for you. One guy that hasn't had a very good year, and Jock Peterson, who is facing Anthony DeSclafani. He is 9 for 19 against him with 4 home runs. He's hitting .474 with an OPS close to 1,700. So Jock Peterson is going to be one pick for us on Tuesday, on Dinger Tuesday, and the other is going to be Matt Chapman facing Nestor Cortez. Matt Chapman with the San Francisco Giants, 4 for 16 with 2 homers and 4 extra base hits. He sees him well. He hits for power against him. So I'm going to go Jock Peterson and Matt Chapman are my 2 picks for my FanDuel Sportsbook Dinger Tuesday. 50% profit boost for any one player to hit a homer if that happens on Dinger Tuesday. So thank you all. Today was a lot of fun. Really fun episode. A lot to talk about. The Yankees are in an absolute free fall right now. They really are. But again, if you're listening, leave a comment letting me know your biggest what-ifs in MLB history. If I missed someone obvious, or if you have a completely different top 5 or just a player you would slide in somewhere, let me know. I think it's a fun conversation. And Josh Hamilton getting into the Hall of Fame for the Texas Rangers over the weekend really made me think of that and wanted to have this conversation on the show. So if you're just listening, Apple, Spotify, wherever, please hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening. But check us out on our YouTube channel, Flippin Bats Pod. We just reached the 56,000 subscriber mark a couple weeks ago. Now we're pushing on even further to 57,000, and I love hopping in the comments and talking to you guys and enjoying a fun back and forth with everyone on the YouTube channel. So subscribe on our YouTube channel. It's free to do so. Like the videos, comment. All of that really does help and really appreciate it. And I really like talking to this community. This community, the baseball, is the best. It's different than anyone else. It's fun. It's a positive, upbeat show about the game of baseball that we all love so much, and I really appreciate every single one of you that watches and listens every week. Or if this is your first time, I really appreciate it as well. Check us out on all social media at Flippin Bats Pod everywhere. Fun show. The Hall of Famer John Smoltz joins us every single week, and that will be the case this week as well. So the next show will be with John Smoltz. Thank you all. 2025, the year of Flippin Bats, my friend. We are rolling along. I'm heading to Williamsport for the Little League Classic this coming weekend. This has been awesome. So thank you all. And until next time, my friends, remember, find your bat and flip it. Flippin Bats is presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Must be 21 and older and present in select states. For Kansas, an affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 and older and present in D.C. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. Or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts. Or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.